Leaders, real life leaders.
Hey guys, I'm so excited to introduce you to my next guest, Shanda Sumpter with HeartCore Business. And she is doing an amazing job in the digital world and so many others. So Shanda, for people who haven't heard about you, please tell them a little bit about yourself.
So I'm a mom first, which is something I'm super proud of. I became a mom at 40 and found my husband in 90 days, which is kind of interesting. I almost forgot to settle down, get married and have kids. And I'm originally from Vancouver, Canada. And when I moved to America, moved to Las Vegas, I was so broke it hurt. So I was the girl that had $500 in an envelope. I hid it in my closet underneath my clothes so that nobody would find it. And it was one of the hardest and one of the best times of my life, because I remember thinking to myself, just the realization that work is a privilege. You know, I wasn't allowed to work in America being Canadian. So when I finally, I'm kind of cutting through some of the pieces of the story based on time for this interview. But my dad's American. I was born in Canada. And so I was legally entitled to an American citizenship, but the INS kept telling me I could be 60 years old before I get it. So it took a lot of resilience. It took a lot of persistence to find an attorney that would tell me a different story. And eventually I ended up getting the postman at my front door with my passport. But through the whole process of suffering in America and going to school and having no money and not being allowed to work, God taught me how to hustle. You know what I mean? He just taught me how to hustle. He taught me how to sharpen my skills and use that next level thinking. So when you've got no credit, when I had no credit, I learned how to create cash flow, right? When I wasn't allowed to work in America, I learned how to hustle and learn how to get over my shyness. And so, I just have lots of moments like that have built me to here. And now when I started my company, I just wanted to make $5,000 a month. And now I've grown this incredible enterprise online, which is crazy.
So tell people a little bit about the size of your business and tell people what are the 3 things that really caused your business to kind of explode and take it to the next level.
So we started our company. In fact, I think we've changed our name 5 times in 9 years. And it's never slowed down our growth at all. I'm still, we're an 8-figure company and we'll go into 9 figures here soon. And the truth honestly is that my company's still small in the scope of the world. You know what I mean? So when I look at growing the company, I think one of the main things is I was humble enough and probably naive enough to be successful. And so I never expected it to become what it's become. So that's been a superpower in its own, just naive enough to be successful. So I just stayed one step at a time and worked on whatever the main challenge I was having in the moment. I just worked on it. I don't have a formal education in business. My dad is an entrepreneur. I come from a line of entrepreneurs, but I also have the other side of my family that were laborers and workers like my mom. And so I just chose what side of the fence I wanted to hang out on. So I'd say one tip is get out of your own way. You know what I mean? Because the truth is, I don't care how smart you are, you never know if something's going to work or not. Any great marketer knows that, especially marketing online. I mean, I've got a lot of experience at it at this point. And when I look at what something I'll think will be successful and it'll flop. And so just be naive. So that's been a big superpower of mine. The second thing is just instead of focusing on just your inspiration of what you want to create, I have really focused on people before profits. And what that looks like for me is I've focused on not just building followers online. I'm not interested in followers online. In fact, when you look at our assets inside of this company, we have an email list that's a buyer's list. And so it's an asset. So we've built our social media followings mainly through our email list. And so they're real. So there's followers online, and then there's actual people who want to consume work and be a part of whatever it is that you're offering. So I would say really step number two or strategy number two would be focus on the audience of buyers, not followers. So do you want to be rich or do you want to be famous? You better make up that decision. So I've never cared about being famous. I've never wanted to even be the face of my brand at all. I've just always wanted to be a businesswoman, make money, make an impact, and do good work in the world. And I never wanted it tied to me. And so it's crazy that in digital marketing, I have to do so many Instagram stories or email marketing or pictures of myself with my husband in Napa at a marriage retreat and stuff. Like all that stuff has nothing to do with business, yet it's what sells the business, right? So number three is, integrate your vulnerability in your life, in your marketing. So while I was figuring out how to market, I just shared my bloopers in life, not from a place of victim, but from a place of empowerment. So I always found if I could care enough about the audience, or even if it was just 12 people, if I could care enough about those 12 people, then I just show up different. You probably are like that too. I show up different for people than if I'm just sitting, trying to figure out my own problem. So if I take a problem and bring it to the light of sharing it with other people, I can typically come up with a strategy or at least a good mindset around how to deal with that moves me forward again. So that's really been the three things I think I've built this whole thing on.
So what are some of the things that you've done to help fix that? Like how do you figure out, okay, right now, can you talk about very specifically like, okay, we had a problem with this. This is what I did. This is how I solved it.
So I find that leadership is actually the answer to all of that. So say I'm sitting in a situation and sales is a challenge, right? Like it's like, okay, sales is a challenge and can't find the buyers or I can't close them, right? And I'm in a situation where conversions are bad, income's not where it needs to be, but yet I have this vision or these resources or these bills, these monthly overheads that are there. Sales really isn't the problem, because the truth is when I can take a rookie and bring them onto my sales team and teach them leadership on like outbound calls. I don't know about you, but last time I checked, everybody knows how to use a phone. Last time I checked, everybody knows how to direct message somebody on Facebook or Instagram. They just do. I mean, you can just figure it out in seconds. The challenge we're having is a leadership problem. And so we address that across the board with myself. When I come up against something that's challenging, I don't sit there and go, what's the formula? I never do that. I already know there's an answer to it. I know somebody's figured it out. The challenge is why am I not doing what it takes to find that resource? Why am I not being resourceful enough? So I actually go to the core of the problem, kind of like if you're sick, it doesn't make sense to just give yourself an aspirin, because it's like, why are you getting the headaches? Are you malnutritioned? Are you, do you have, a hydration problem? Entrepreneurs have a leadership problem. And I will tell you, I don't care how successful you are, you will only grow to the depth of your leadership ability. I mean, it just is, So I don't know if I answered your question, but because that could be, I mean, I'm the problem. You're always the problem. So instead of looking outside yourself, even when I wanted to learn a webinar, I have the same webinar I've had for 3.5 years. Okay. And it converts great. I mean, it's $1 million webinar. And when I look at that webinar, I hired 3 people to teach me the formula of the webinar. All 3 people were really successful. And the truth is that when I went to go to the webinar, my personality wouldn't come through, my spirit wouldn't come through, how I talk, my tone wouldn't come through. That's all leadership. So you can do any formula and get mediocre results, or maybe it won't even work. When it's proven to work, the breakdown is your leadership. How do you approach it?
Yeah. Well, I'm in a group that a lot of these people are email marketers. And one of the biggest things that's kind of going through the Facebook forum that I'm in is people saying that their emails were used to going into people's inbox, and now their email is going into their junk mail, and people are just not getting their mail. And so that's like that's a huge problem, right? Like if you're an email marketer, do you have
We are.
Yes. So have you kind of come up with any strategies to fix that, to help with getting people's stuff in their inbox?
So it'd be interesting to hear the level of the email marketer, because the truth is if you increase your fonts to 16 to 26, Joe Marion taught me that not too long ago, your conversions will go through the roof. You change the sender name. Again, Joel taught me that not too long ago. He did 0 to 100 million in 1 year with email marketing. People always think that the problem's outside. It's not. You know what I mean? So change the sender name. Instead of it coming from Shanda at HeartCoreBusiness.com, I'll change it to SSS. You know what I mean? At HeartCoreBusiness.com. Or I'll change it to, Sumpter at HeartCoreBusiness.com, and your open rates will go through the roof. So the challenge is people are just not listening to you anymore. And people think it's like, oh, it's going to somebody's probably spammed you. Do you know what I mean? Somebody's probably, flagged you, somebody's probably moved you, like it's like they're tired of, listening to your stuff. And then there's email filters, but change the sender name. There you go. All done. Sender name and font size, because people are reading on their devices, and what looks amazing on a desktop looks annoying on your cell phone. And depending on if your cell phone's big or small or medium, whatever size you have determines on if somebody's going to read that email or that blog or whatever it is that you sent out. So, be conscious about that. So just those 2 tweaks will have a huge, depending on how much you're sending out. Also, if people are only sending out once or twice a week, you're not an email marketer. Email marketers don't send out once or twice a week. Email marketers send out 7 times a week, sometimes 14. Okay. So the more you send out, the more your engagement and your deliverability will go up, which means that you better start creating some good content, or get a repurposing person on your team so that you can take something like this interview and repurpose it. I'll say the last piece that I'd say on that is when you're looking at like your email marketing content, it's like start paying attention to what has higher open rates and drill down on it. So a great example, not on email, but on social media right now, I did a video that is single and 40. And I talk about the fact, my story. And it's not a long video, but it's getting a lot of traction online. I'm a business coach. I'm not a relationship coach. My team's like, keep drilling. Like, you need to create more of these relationship videos. I'm like, but the thing is the truth is that if I can get a video up to 10 million views and then keep going and stay in the step I'm in to be so good and masterful at landing my leadership in that area, do you think out of 10 million, 200,000 are going to be entrepreneurs? Yes. You know what I mean? And so now you're starting to go into scaling, and that breaks all the rules that every coach says about being niched out. So being niched out is great. I always say, broad is broke, but that's an income bracket. Once you get past a certain income bracket, and if you're really talking about scaling, and you're really going into, the 50, 20, 50, 100, $200 million mark, you're playing a different game. And when you're getting clients that are paying you $300,000 for a video and things like that, you're playing a different game. And this may or may not be relatable to people, but you need to understand that marketing changes, and what gets you here doesn't get you there. So you have to know when you need to do a pivot and stop listening to everybody you used to listen to. It's like, my health coaches don't like, and JJ Virgin is a really good friend of mine, super good. I love the woman, but like, I don't tell them to listen to JJ about their pricing, because my clients are charging higher because they don't have any context to what they should be charging. Do you get what I'm saying? Because it's like, if they don't market research, the truth is pricing comes down to packaging. And so if you want to make more money as a health coach, don't listen to the traditional, like, oh, nobody pays that amount of money for health coaching. Oh, yes, they do. Like, people don't. We just had a 46% close in a cold room, meaning that nobody knew me. when they walked into this event. 46% purchase. You know what I did? I actually taught them the strategy of pricing where they threw wild and crazy things up on a flip chart about what they'd love to receive from me. And I chose 3 things and added it to an incentive bonus. And that's how 46% said yes, because I gave them exactly what they wanted, which is why I say start with the audience first versus the product. And I incentivized them to really feel, which we buy off feelings, to really feel that what they were purchasing was valuable. Now, you already know your product's valuable, but it's not enough to just deliver the result anymore. It's about that package.
Awesome.
There was a lot that we just packed in there.
And now, a word from our sponsor, Canzel Realty. Run your business your way, only at Canzel Realty. You can have all of the freedom with none of the standard real estate red tape. As an agent at Canzel, you'll have the ability to be on a 100% split with no yearly or monthly tech fees. You'll get access to revenue share and stock award options, top-tier leads program options, access to a local broker in every major city instead of just one for the whole state, a local circle leader to help you and your business, access to incredible national speakers and training, an unmatched suite of free technology. At Canzel, you get the best of both worlds. All the technology, revenue sharing, and equity awards of a national firm combined with the close-knit feel and support of a local firm. Build your real estate business your way, only at Canzel Realty.
So what are some specific systems and technology that you've implemented that you've said, once we implemented this really helped catapult us to the next level?
So definitely an email list for sure. That's been a game changer because it's an asset. I just talked to one of the Instagram people that we work with on our team. We just interviewed him on our Faith and Money Revealed, which you're on. Like this guy only works with people who have really figured out their back end and are already successful and want meaning in the marketplace. And said the same thing. I mean, you got to pull them off social media and you got to put people in an email list. And it drives me crazy when I hear people say, email's dead. I'm like, oh my God, please. Like some of the business coaches out there that are selling like crazy, who are really successful and are using Instagram to convert like crazy, they're pulling them off into an email list. Like Bedros with Fit Body Bootcamp, they're pulling them off, putting them into an email list. They're pulling them into their DMs and they're putting them into an email list. So that asset, I feel like I've been smart and put horse blinders on and just focused on that. So again, do you want to be rich or do you want to be famous? And when I say rich, please know that I have always been happy. I was happy in my 1-bedroom apartment, my 2-bedroom apartment, my tear down, condemned property I ever lived in. I thought was the coolest thing in the world, and my ocean view home now here in San Diego. I've never felt different in any place that money has purchased in my life. But I'm telling you, when you can write a check for $80,000 or $200,000 or whatever to a cause, or you can stretch yourself, like we want to write $1 million check, not over a year. We want to write $1 million check, right? And we wanted to do that last year and we didn't hit it, And so it was like, okay, how do we do that again? Right. And so it's like, put it up on the board and see, like, that's a fun way of playing with money. So when I use things like, do you want to be rich? Or do you want to be famous? It's for reasons to get through to your brain. But know that when I say rich, it's connected with all of that meaning. Make sense?
Absolutely.
So email list as an asset has been a key feature. And then secondly, investing in people. I probably overpay and they might not feel that way. But when I look at, like, I'm paying one person $75,000 for her job, but the going rate inside of San Diego for her same job is $54,000 this year, which I pointed out this morning. Right. And when we were talking through an app, and it's like, I believe investing in people is important. And I also believe in great leadership inside of the company, and culture is important. And if you don't think about culture, I think you're going to have a challenge scaling a company.
Awesome. Last question. What have you done to create systems with your staff? So anything that you can think of, like even things to where, like, maybe you say, okay, we have a staff meeting every, week. We keep it at this amount of time. We don't extend. anything like that you say, these are kind of routine things that I
Yeah.
do with my staff that really helps take them to the next level?
So you're systems based. Our company is run systems based for sure. But I just want to stand for every entrepreneur that does not think system based, because I'm you, right? So I think thinking based. So I use Dan Sullivan's impact filter. He has a company called Strategic Coach. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs I know are part of that group. And Dan gave us permission to share the impact filter with our clients. Every single one of our clients uses it. And whenever I see a client floundering, I can just look at the fact that they don't use it. So the basis of an impact filter is you can see the project completely finished. What does it look like completely finished? So if I'm hiring a CMO, or I'm hiring a COO, or I'm hiring a sales person in my company, or an executive assistant, I do an impact filter first. And so this helps me systemize my thinking, so I know what success looks like. And then I hire people inside my company to run those systems. So I'm on a once a month company call, and everything else is run off KPIs. We have an annual KPI that I created for the company. There's 5 things on it. That's it. There's no more than 5 things. If you don't hit the 5, we're not doing it. Trust me, that is the hardest thing that I have to do, because I want to add 6. I want to figure out how to fit 7 somehow into number 5, right? So we have 5 KPIs for the year. Those KPIs are given to our team leaders. Our team leaders create the KPIs for annually based off those 5, their KPIs annually. And it's all color coordinated on one sheet. So we can see each of the 5 KPIs for the year broken down, color coordinated per person that owns it. And then that's broken down into quarters. And we run off those KPIs. So we don't talk about anything else in the company. My COO and I have meetings about those KPIs only. And that's it. That's all we need.
So can you share, you don't have to share the exact KPI, but just say like, okay, here's KPI number 1. It says, I want to make X amount of, you know what I mean? You don't have to say the number.
So as skills,
What those are.
so let's say, okay, let's just say our leadership division. Our leadership division has 4 newsletters that go out a month, and which would be a KPI. A KPI inside those newsletters is that the trainers are creating content that is based off survey results that the graduates of our leadership training see. How that would be all in an impact filter, right? What does success look like, right? So we take the newsletter, and I put it on an impact filter. It tells you what does it look like successful, and that goes on to the KPI. Here's an even simpler one. Everybody can relate to a salesperson. One of the KPIs for a salesperson is absolutely every single salesperson has to hit, they have to have 8 enrollments every single month, or 12 enrollments every single month that is outside of our 2-day events, right? So they're responsible for whatever, I think they're 8. So it's 8 times 15,000 in that program. That's the revenue they are responsible for every single month for their own book of business. Make sense?
It makes sense.
Another KPI for the sales department is that there's 120 enrollments every single month, and the sales director owns that, right? And so the sales team owns their 8, and then the sales director owns the 120 a month. If we miss that in a quarter, somebody's losing their job.
I love it.
We sign off on it. So it just, I got tired of running my company from a place, like I'm not an orphanage, you know what I mean? And so if you're spending, let's say, $200,000 on a marketing plan, or somebody else is spending, $2,000 on a marketing plan, and you do that for 5 months and that doesn't monetize, you're going under, you know what I mean? So it doesn't make sense.
Love it. Well, it's been an honor and pleasure talking with you today. Tell listeners where they can find you and where they can follow you.
So Instagram, I'm loving Instagram right now. And we're really focusing on that platform. So We first focused on our HeartCore business page on Facebook. I stream on there every single day or Monday through Friday. So I've managed that platform and have done it really well. Now we've moved over to Instagram, and that's really the only place that you can get me still in my direct inbox. So if you have questions about anything that I've said on this interview, and you want to ask me something personal or direct about what it is that you do, then you can always find me on Instagram and just look up Shanda Sumpter. Shanda like a panda. So Shanda Sumpter, like Fort Sumter, on Instagram.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And everyone else, stay tuned. We have another episode coming up in just a minute. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Real Life Leadership. If you'd like to get the show notes or access more resources, log on to reallifeleaders.com/podcast to get the show notes from this episode and any other resources we might have mentioned. And also, we'd love to hear from you. Be sure to review or rate this podcast on Apple Podcasts to help spread the word. And if you have any leadership questions you want answered, email podcast@reallifeleaders.com.